Shalom, giving all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations, as always, to the elect. News and prophecy going into the things happening worldwide, linking them to the Holy Scriptures, giving the faithful elect and remnant of Yahweh Bashmi Shai. All right, the vision are associated with, all right, divine communication through the Holy Spirit, right, to give you the knowledge and wisdom that will be associated with you being stable in these times, as we still have many camps blowing uncertain, sounds, as we are in the time of the end of Esau's world, all right, the time of war, the time of deception, all right, the elect have been blessed with the eyesight to see through the wicked demonic schemes of the left hand, and be able to testify before a judgment is made. And I was checking this video out, and about an hour and something in, and finally the title of the video that this particular camp, this is the Apostle Tahar, what is the 666 Mark II, GMS Truth, subscribe, and be edified. The title of the video is a response to a video done by IUIC asking, is the digital ID the mark of the beast? Now, if you've been watching, we saw that, what was it, the UK, boasted in the plan that digital IDs would be the new wave going forward. They didn't give a particular date. Let's see if I can find it. See if I can find that video that they did. I loaded it up here. Let's go here. Let's see. I loaded it up a couple of days ago, but we'll get to it. But pretty much, the talking point of a digital ID has been one of the main talking points of the left hand for some time. Okay, let's see if I can find it. Here we go.
And that is why today I am announcing this government will make a new free of charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this parliament.
Okay, so the question that is being posed in the video done by IUIC is the digital ID the mark of the beast? And the answer is no, it's not the mark of the beast, but it is a part of the infrastructure. Okay, because he just said, if you don't have this digital ID, you will not be able to work. Okay, there was another article here, all right, where they want the digital ID cards for children as young as 13. Now, we know children at 13-year-old ain't going to be working, all right. They also said citizens who refuse, U.S. citizens who refuse biometric digital ID will be barred from Europe. So you're not going to be able to travel to Europe if you don't have this particular pass, you see. So it's laying the groundwork for the Motb, in which you are going to have in order to buy or sell in the very near future, you see. But the digital ID is laying the groundwork, because you will have to have it, as this devil is talking about here, in order to work. So how far can they go with that system? Okay. And we know that it's going to be tied to a social credit score. We're going to get into a few things here in this lesson, but it is not the mark of the beast. Okay.
Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that. Because decent, pragmatic, fair-minded people, they want us to tackle the issues that they see around them. And of course, the truth is, we won't solve our problems if we don't also take on the root causes.
And what are the problems going on over in, the UK, immigration, online hate speech, coups being formed, rebellions. So they're using that as a justification to get everyone identified so that they can have what? Peace and safety. And the same system is coming here. Okay, already in China, they have these types of systems set up. And ultimately, as we'll show you, the social credit score will be tied to that. And eventually they'll be able to bar out any resistance, all right, by the means of eventually setting up that MOTB, all right? And this MOTB is a plan of the left hand. It's not a conspiracy. It's not something that we just pulled out of our ass, all right? Not only is it scriptural, but we're seeing the scriptures come to life, as it says in the book of Habakkuk, the second chapter. At the end, it would speak. Okay, so this video was done by IUIC, is the digital ID the mark of the beast. For about an hour, they talked about, not having multiple wives. And now it looks like they're finally getting into it. I'm going to play a little bit of this, and then we're going to get into a few happenings, because the MOTB, all right, is becoming mainstream. It's becoming, the talking point of even, particular right-wing Christians are bringing it out. We're going to show you a few people from different podcasts talking about it. All right. If you can't see that the MOTB is the mark, the microchip, all right, and putting the pieces of the puzzle together, then ultimately the Lord is just not dealing with you. But you still have particular camps doing any and everything in their power to disassociate what we see happening right before our very eyes from the scriptures. Okay?
That waking up to this truth that we are Israel and changing our lives. We are the only one that don't have the mark of the beast. They waiting to be chipped and so forth. But let me tell you all you people, you all already got the mark of the beast already.
So he said people outside of those who have repented already have the mark of the beast. So my question is, are they able to buy and sell? This is the ignorance and stupidity coming out of the mouth of these individuals, and it's just going to cause further more confusion, all right? And many of these Israelites are going to justify taking that chip. They're going to bow the knee. They're not being prepared to resist the technology. They're not being told by their leaders, don't allow, all right? I'm talking about a firm stance. Don't allow it. Don't take it, even unto death. Now, this individual, I believe his name is Deacon Malachi, which this is an interesting chain, if you know the history on it. But he brings out the digital ID system. He brings out particular happenings. All right, and if you listen to some of his teachings, right, he brings out the digital ID and how they're going to use it to stop people from doing things and bar you out of things. All right, now he does this video called "Is the Digital ID the MOTB?" Okay, and his thing is, well, everybody already got it except those who repented in Christ. So everybody already has the mark of the beast. It's already here. Now, it is already here in the sense that you have people worldwide being chipped, right? Especially in Sweden. Okay, also, let's go here. Let's see. There's a particular article I had. Boom, here we go. All right, Neuralink reports 10,000 patients have now signed up for its brain chip because, as we told you, the devil was going to come in this is the serpent, so he's going to come in a very crafty spirit, all right, and it's going to be centered around, all right, how the MOTB is set to heal you from all of these disadvantages you have, okay, and they showed you a few subjects that they, patients that they had, who took the brain chip and now they can, play ping pong on the computer with their mind. Some of them can move their hands. They're using it to restore vision to the blind. They're doing all kind of miracles, so to speak, with this technology. Revelation 13 and 14, okay? It says, and this is speaking of this beast system that we live in, all right, ruled by the beast man, Esau, Edom, right? Which ultimately is the revival of the Western Roman Empire. And deceived, Revelation 13 and 14, and they deceived them that dwelled on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had a wound by a sword and did live. And that goes back to the ancient Roman Empire, which was revived via the Renaissance. Ultimately, you're bowing to that image, those ideologies, those very gods, you know, those philosophies, their images, you know, their way of life, their holy days. You're bowing to the very Western Roman Empire, all right, system through this system. But it's just upgraded, you see. But he had power to do miracles, which we always show you the term miracles is semeion, right? A mark, a sign, a prodigy, a portent, an unusual occurrence transcending the common course of nature. See, and that's what this micro C-hip, all right, is being, you know, presented as, you know, in this whole quest, all right, of transhumanism. AI and technology is the science that's going to back this new age. Okay, this is the new way of health. This is the new way to upgrade yourself. All right, the old way is done. We're evolving past. All right, just being, you know, a human being in a, you know, which stem from monkeys. We're transcending past. All right, human limitations via technology. Okay, and we have to understand Neuralink is just one of thousands, hundreds of thousands of companies that is now pushing this technology. And we showed you videos where people are on private islands in South America. Edomites buy up, you know, land, and they're out there chipping each other. So yeah, the Motb is already here, right? And we'll get back to this. But the way he's presenting it is that people who believe in Christianity, white Jesus, they have the mark of the beast. But those people can leave church, leave their orgies, and leave whatever situation that they have going on in rebellion and sin. And what can they do? They can go and buy and sell when we know that the mark of the beast, okay, is given that no man might buy or sell. So let's listen to a little bit more of this rhetoric. All right, this is a pretty long, this is a 2-hour video. Theirs is probably about 4 hours, but the apostles is going through it, you know, waiting on him to talk about the digital ID. So as I'm watching it, he starts to speak about it an hour in, but the title of the video is the digital ID the mark of the beast? But he spent like a couple of hours or damn near an hour and a half talking about, you know, men not being able to have multiple wives, you know.
Every last one of you black Christians, you all got the mark of the beast already. And that's what I'm going to show you all in the scriptures. So everybody going crazy.
Another gimmick, that music, it means you better sit. If you're sleeping, wake your ass up. Dun, 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 dun. This is a gimmick camp.
Because Britain got the digital ID, but I'm going to show you all of you all in America already got that too. You understand? Well, the majority of you all. Now check this.
Let's go.
All right. Yo, I will need you all to...
But he just said, you heard him, you can bring it back. He said that they ain't got it. They don't got the mark. But everybody else got it. If you're black, Christian, whatever, Edomite. But they're able to buy and sell. He's able to buy and sell. He's able to buy and sell, but he don't got it. You need to show me that trick. How did you do that? You found a loophole? They don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Confusion.
What keeps these zombies glued to these guys, the leadership, is the gimmicks.
Right.
To move fast here. Go to Daniel 7 and 19. to 25. I'm going to skip out Daniel 2 and 44. And then let me get 2nd Ezra 12 and 10. Come on! Daniel.
Yeah, and it's hard to listen to all those that sound effects, and it's childish, but you heard him. I mean, we'll keep listening to a little bit more. He's saying that basically, outside of those who repented, everybody in, who's a black Christian or in whatever philosophy that they're in, already have the mark of the beast, man, and that's a damn lie. All right, and this is in the book of 1 Corinthians 14 and 7. He's speaking about speaking in tongues, but we can take it and apply to this situation as well because, all right, you have to interpret the tongue that you speak in order for it to be edifying. All right, but then Paul gives the example, all right, here in 1 Corinthians 14 and 7. We'll read it in NLT. It says, even lifeless instruments like the flute or harp must play the notes clearly or no one will recognize the melody. Okay? The notes have to be played skillfully, as it says in the book of Psalms, all right, 33, play skillfully when you sing the new song. Okay? It says in verse 8, for if the trumpet give an uncertain sound, who shall prepare himself for the battle? And when you go into our history, okay, yep, Numbers 10 and 9, and if you go to war in the land against the enemy that oppresseth you, and our enemy is at war with us, we are in a spiritual war, right? There's very, very many snares and traps set up to get our people to fall to the flesh, all right, and to give in during the hour of temptation. It says, when you go to war in your land against an enemy that oppresseth you, then ye shall blow an alarm with trumpets, and ye shall be remembered before the Lord your God, and ye shall be saved from your enemies. So let's say, all right, when you understand our history, there were particular trumpet sounds that symbolized particular, all right, spirits to be in. All right, if you hear a particular trumpet for war and the enemy is coming against you, all right, there's a particular mindset that's different than you hearing the trumpet for a feast or a new moon or a gathering to meet and have a council. So here it is, as he's, let's get that as well. He's not playing skillfully. Okay? Sorry. Let's get I know it's Psalms 33 and 3. All right. Psalms 33 and 3. Sing unto him a new song, play skillfully with a loud noise. Okay, when you go into this word skillfully, right? It's yatab, to be good, pleasing, well. Okay? To do well, to do thoroughly. And he's not giving you a thorough understanding of what the mark of the beast is, according to the times that we're in. He's telling people they already have it, so their members are going to be under the impression, well, since I repented and I don't, worship white Jesus anymore, I worship a black Jesus, I don't have the mark of the beast. But then when it comes to devices being put in you, jabs being put in you, all right, being told you have to have this in order to live on earth, all right, they'll think that they're justified because this group does everything in its power to disassociate, all right, the physical, all right, RFID microchip, okay, the brain implant, everything that we see these devils coming with, all right, they refuse to associate any of what we see or hear these devils talking about with the mark of the beast. As a matter of fact, you had this former WEF leader, right, telling you what their plan was. Let's listen to this.
The idea had been by central banks to introduce this, as we said, central bank digital currency. But have you ever seen an article or a video or, whatever description of what it actually looks like?
Yeah, so the central bank digital currency, which you remember Trump, he came in under the guise that, he would never allow a central bank digital currency. All right. But what he did come with is a stable coin, which is a trap. all right, and ultimately another way to bring you into a central bank digital currency under the guise of stable coin, but it's still leading you to the very same system. And then there was a a statue of Trump put up, a temporary statue of him holding, a Bitcoin, a stable coin or whatever, because they're getting ready to enter you into a new financial system, a digital, all right, system as they collapse this one. Let's listen to him some more.
I mean, with central bank paper money, we know what it looks like, right?
Yeah.
Bank digital currency, we know, and we've used it ourselves. We know what it looks like. But what does central bank digital currency look like? You see? So they never talk about that because people won't actually like the looks of it.
Yeah.
Because it apparently looks, and several central banks apparently, as I heard from my sources, have already fully developed the final stage of CBDC. I mean, it comes in stages, initially likely through your mobile phone, but that's only an intermediate step. And the final stage is, it's small, and it's the size of a grain of rice. Now, why is that?
And that grain of rice is your entire wallet, or?
Yes, it's your digital ID, your wallet, can be your passport, your key. Now, of course, what we found with our debit cards or credit cards is they've already now moved to the system, RFID chips, RFID technology where you just wave the thing, contactless.
Yes,
that is sort of the conditioning us in this direction that in the future you'll just wave your hand because you've got the microchip implant under your skin. And because, and each step, there's a rational reason, it's easier just to wave this, isn't it? It's much faster.
So they're gradually moving you into this system, okay? Gradually. It's gradual. So as you bring out this new song, we are commanded to play skillfully. And the new song, okay, is associated here in Revelation, all right, the 14th chapter and the 9th verse. And the third angel followed them saying with a loud voice, symbolizing the prophet speaking through the Holy Spirit, if any man worship the beast, okay, you have to be able to clarify what is the beast. Okay, you have to clarify, and his image. What is the image? Well, they tell you it's a standing picture of Caesar Borgia, right? And then they'll show videos of them burning, right, white Jesus. But what do they keep? They keep the name, which the law they use to justify burning down the image of white Jesus is in the book of Deuteronomy, the 13th chapter. But it also tells you that the names of those idols should be burned. And how do we burn these idols today? Do we do it in a physical sense and going and burning down churches and, pictures of Caesar Borgia and idols? No, it's through the word. All right. The scriptures tell you that this word is like fire. Okay. Let's get that. Firewood. I believe it's Jeremiah 23. Word, fire. Yep. Jeremiah 23 and 29. Is not my word like as a fire? So here it is. These dudes are recording themselves burning white Jesus pictures. Okay. All right. Clearly a waste of time. Okay. The word is like a fire. This word, all right, is casting down the imaginations associated with white Jesus, but they keep the name of Jesus. Okay, so it's not my word like as a fire, saith the Lord, and like a hammer that breaketh the rock into pieces. So everything is being grounded into powder via this word. Okay, but again, that's that very law that they're using, all right, to shun idolatry by burning down the idols of the heathen, which was a commandment given unto us as we were entering into the promised land, which was filled with heathen and idols that we were to, decimate or destroy out of the land. you were supposed to destroy the names of those guys as well. Okay? I believe maybe it's 12. Yep, Deuteronomy 12 and 2. And ye shall utterly destroy all of the places wherein the nations which ye shall possess serve their gods upon the high mountains. Verse 3, you shall overthrow their altars, break down their pillars, burn their groves with fire, and ye shall hew down the graven images of their gods and destroy the names of them out of that place. So here it is. This camp burns the image of white Jesus, right? But then they keep the name and then tell you if you worship Christianity, you have the mark of the beast. Okay, well, the God of Christianity is Jesus Christ. See that? Which that wasn't the name of the Lord. So the true men of the Lord are going to be playing a skillful tune when it comes to the mark of the beast, pursuant to what we're reading here. This is an aspect of the new song, Revelation 14:9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast in his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wrath of the Most High. So there will be a clear message against this technology. But for some reason, these guys don't want to do it. They don't want to link the technology that we see to the mark of the beast. Okay? Then the digital ID comes and they do videos on it. The digital ID, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. Okay? And they want to separate that from the mark of the beast. So either these guys are paid off, which most likely they are, but time will tell. Okay? Or they just got Satan on them.
Daniel chapter 7 and verse 19. Verse 19. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast.
So remember, I'm going here to explain who is the beast. Because we keep reading about the image of the beast, right? So who is the beast? Read that again for me one more time.
Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast.
I will know the truth of who is the fourth beast. Read on.
Which was diverse from all the others.
Which was different from all the others. Read on.
Exceeding dreadful. Whose teeth were of iron. And his nails of brass. Which devoured, break in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet.
Read on.
And of the 10 horns that were in his head.
And the 10 horns that was in his head. Read on.
And of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell.
And the other that came up, that's America.
He's just getting ready to regurgitate this BS that he got from the bishop.
Of whom 3 fell. The 3 fell, the 3 wars that America got into to win its independence. Read on.
Even of that horn that had eyes.
And that horn, which is America, had eyes. That's going into its technology and its wisdom. Read on.
And a mouth that spake very great things.
Read on.
Whose look was more stout than his fellows.
Read on.
I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints.
That same horn made war with us. You understand? Enslaved us. Made war with us. Read on. Made war with the North American Indians. Read on.
And prevailed against them.
And they prevail against us. They call it manifested destiny, right?
Manifest destiny. Manifest destiny. Not manifested destiny. It's manifest destiny. It means it was destined that we were going to take you down and it's being manifested.
Right. And, you know, you could look at more of it because I want to get into a few videos. But they're going all the way around. They're going all the way there. They're going here. They're going there. It's just bringing confusion. All right. The fourth beast is Rome, man. Okay. The beast is the Western Roman Empire. All right. And its image was reborn into the earth via the Renaissance period, which America is an extension of that. Along with the NATO, the EU, is an extension, all right, of the Western Roman Empire dominance, okay? And the image of the beast goes further than a picture of white Jesus, okay? We'll come back to this. Let's get into a few videos because everybody's talking about the mark of the beast, okay? Again, we're showing you here, okay, that 10,000 patients are signing up for this. So this is getting ready to be the new wave of healing, all right, which the healing aspect is how they, you know, draw you in. They play with people's emotions. They show all of these, you know, heroic stories of people overcoming, you know, brain, you know, issues and this and that via this technology because it's being set up as the new savior. Okay, it's being set up as the new wave, all right, of salvation. It's being set up as the new wave of peace, of safety, but they throw the healing aspect out there, okay, to play on emotions. Now, thousands of people, I mean, we've saw, all right, the Neuralink patients healed, man. Okay, all you had to do was look it up. Okay, you just look it up. Okay, and they're giving their testimonies, right? You know? So now you have a big waiting list of people who saw those testimonies, right? All right, this guy can now use his robotic arm because he has a brain-computer interface. Okay, synonymously, okay, we see the talking of digital ID. Okay, we see the talking point of, Palantir, being able to identify people. We know in China, in China, Zhejiang's province, you can earn one social credits point by donating 200 milliliters of blood. The higher your social credit score, the better school your kids are allowed to attend. That's why Chinese parents are lining up, all right, to donate blood. All right, this is a system of absolute chaos. Now, this is in China. Okay, and if we look over here in the States, we're going to show you a few things that systematically this very same scenario is being set up. All right, where your digital ID will be tied to your social credit score, your online activity, what you do, who you literally are, everything about you, all of your data will be fixated, all right, into this system to where they will be able to profile, identify you, all right, and eventually this system is going to go under the skin, okay? To get your social credit score up, you got to go and donate blood to show that you're a good citizen. This is madness. Okay, this is madness. And people are saying it's not going to work in Europe, but this is the world that they are bringing. Okay, let's go back here.
In the specific case of the mark of the beast described in Revelation, it's a mark without which you cannot conduct commerce. So basically, everyone's compelled to receive the mark, but those who receive the mark make a big mistake in receiving it. Right. And they are punished for it in a big way. So if we get to a place in the next couple of years where you can't participate digitally in commerce or in communications without the mark of the beast, without the permanent mark on the blockchain, like, what's your option?
I mean, your option is just not to conduct business and do those things. I mean, God will find a way for those people, even if it's the end of their lives. That's just the way that's going to shake down. What'll probably happen, too, is you will have people in tech, and I know they exist, who are alarmed by this, who will intentionally devise ways around this for people. Similar to people creating catacombs for the persecuted Christians in the early days of the Roman Empire, you will have people who will find ways around this to hack it. I've got a friend, Tucker, who he's become a Christian in recent years, and he works for some of the big companies. And he said, he goes, some of the stuff that you see cannot be explained through normal math, material stuff. Some of the stuff that's coming through from AI. Yeah.
And AI is a big part of the Motb infrastructure, but that is even being sold to you as something, all right, that's going to help, or they let you play with the chat GPT. All right, but as we see, AI is taking a jump from the regular AI that they have sold to people, and it's going to be a part of your everyday lives. It's going to take jobs. It's going to make life literal hell. So these Christians know, all right, are even given a more of a clear message on what the Motb is than these Israelite camps and so-called preparing their followers. But it's too late. The foundation of it is too thrown off, okay, and they don't have the true breakdown. But as they're looking out into the world, they're looking out into the world that's being shaped. Okay, they can clearly tell that this is that Motb system that the Bible talked about, and they can see how the elites are gradually bringing you into that world. I want to go here as well, which you brothers and sisters probably saw it. This is the Elder Tazadak, GMS Inland Empire 2. Okay. IUIC's web of lies is running out of steam, because now everybody is talking about this technology. And this is being done. This is all the spirit. All right. Some, these platforms and these people, they want to control the narrative, but the Lord is allowing an influx of information to go out, because Jake has no excuse. You were warned by the prophets. It's easy for people to say these things now that they're here, but the prophets have been telling you these things way before. All right. It was a reality on earth. Remember, we were called stupid, mocked by guys like Baloo. He had a micro potato chip on his hand, saying, "I got the mark. Look, this is the chip, guy." Then he eats the chip, laughing and mocking on camera. The Bishop Nathaniel and the IUIC have constantly mocked us, called us conspiracy theories. Okay. And now, a lot of those guys, ISUPK, they mock us now. They see that the wall is closing in. So, ISUPK said, well, we're not going to rule out the microchip. IUIC, now they're talking about digital IDs and, this and that. But ultimately, they just don't want to admit that they were wrong and bring out the correct doctrine pursuant to what we're reading in Revelation, the 13th chapter. Okay, we can clearly see a new digital system and everything being set up, all right, to ultimately lean towards and fulfill prophecy.
That's headed towards that.
Right.
So the chip, it's to condition your mind. So
this is an actor. Okay, when he's on Drink Champs talking about the mark.
I'll be like, oh, we've always been tapping, and we've always been using cryptocurrency. We've always been, doing it this way. So when you get the chip, you ain't gonna think nothing of it, because you won't be like, nah, they've always been doing it similar to this, right? So the chip, when they put it inside of you, is gonna be activated as your credit card. So long story short, now you could just, if they put it in your forehead or your wrist, now you could just slide your arm or slide your head, whatever they decide to put it in. And they're gonna say, oh, there's all these good things about it. And this is where they manipulate / trick you / deceive.
And this is an aspect of that manipulation. All right. Where people are now in line for it. Okay. Because it's been sold to you as something that can help people. Okay. But there's a more devious plan tied to this. Okay. As this former, all right, member of the WEF is telling you.
Because we always have to wait in the queues as everyone types in their numbers and all that. To just wave it, it's quicker. But the next rationalization would be, well, but you can lose your card. Somebody can steal your card. And then you're just waving. Yeah. That's kind of risky. Well, wouldn't it be nice if you couldn't lose it and nobody could steal it?
Because eventually it's going to be on your phone. The digital ID will be on your phone. But eventually the phone, okay, as we've been showing you, they plan on the phone, all right, being done away with, and everything being, all right, done from the inside of man. Okay?
But it's clear that that's it is almost a step too far for a lot of people, because it is a violation of human dignity to actually inject something like that under the skin. So that's where you need some more persuasion.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that this concept of universal basic income has been around for around a century, where everyone should get some kind of citizens, payment. But the billionaire elites have so far not liked that. But since 2015, they've all come out. I mean, all the big billionaires and World Economic Forum have come out. Oh, this is a good idea. Universal basic income. Well, why suddenly?
So the universal basic income, as you can see, they're bringing instability in the economy. All right, people are losing jobs left and right. Okay, there's no work for Egypt. Okay, government shutdowns. Okay, eventually people are going to need a solution. And we believe the digital ID will be a part of the solution to bring you in, okay, to a universal basic income, because we're only going to give you this money if you enter into this system. Okay, so they're bringing people to their knees, okay, so that they can eventually, as we bring out, let's get the book of, where were we? Let's get Luke 21. Luke 21 and 25, and there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, which we're seeing that, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. And this is the times that we're living in. And we've always showed you this word distress, sunoke, okay, straits, distress, anguish. All right, but the root word goes into a cattle squeeze, okay, that pushes, that pushing in on each side, forcing the beast into a position where it cannot move so the farmer can administer the medication. Okay, and ultimately they're bringing a cattle squeeze, because when you look up the definition of mark, okay, Revelation 13 and 16, and he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark. The word mark, okay, is charagma. Okay, and when you go to the definition, an imprinted mark, a mark stamped on the forehead or the right hand, is a badge of the followers of the anti-Messiah, going into the ancient system of marking by tattoo or branding to show what God you belong to or who owns you. Brands were given in slavery, right? Going even back to Egypt, they branded their subjects. But it says a mark branded upon horses. Okay, so you are now the cattle. Okay, and why are marks branded on horses? For identification. Okay, we always bring that out. Okay, you could look it up. Why are cows branded? Why are cows and horses branded? Okay, cows and horses are branded primarily for identification and to deter theft. Branding serves as a permanent way to mark the animal's ownership. See that? To mark the animal's ownership. Okay, so now you're the cattle. See that? And as you can see, it says a badge of servitude. Okay, so this is a physical thing, because another way that this word is used in Acts 17 and 29, for as much as we are the offspring of God, we ought not to think that the Godhead is like unto gold, silver, or stone, graven, all right? It's the same word, charagma, graven by a man's device. So charagma, graven, is something physical that will be implemented, all right, to go inside of you. This is what John the Revelator is witnessing as he's giving us this vision. You see?
Deceive you. They're going to say, you know why the chip is good? Because now no one could come up to you and just rob you and take your cash. You know why the chip is good? Because if you get kidnapped, I can find you and locate you with the chip. They're going to tell you.
Same thing that the branding aspect was done with animals. Okay, now that system is being upgraded digitally in this new Tower of Babel system that they've created. All right, and the digital ID is a big part of that.
You all these great things, but here's the part that they don't tell you. If you do not comply with the government and you do not do what the government says, all they got to do is simply turn that chip off. And now your credit card don't work, and now you can't even go to Carl's Jr. and get a cheeseburger. Now you can't even go get tacos or eat. And now, in order for that chip to be turned back on / activated, you got to be under control and the mercy of the government and what they tell you to do to be able to even shop for food or whatever else is that you want to get. And so all that is leading towards that, man. So I tell people you're soon enough going to be backed up into having to make the decision of accept or don't accept. But when it comes down to it, and people always, and that's how they control you. And people always say, oh, they got you control on your phone. No, they don't. Because I could take this phone, I could throw it in a river, and you no longer got anything on me physically. But once they put that in you physically, now you're under control, because that's your credit card, that's your currency, that's your money, that's your whole damn life right there. Right. And again, a lot of this is exposed. You guys can watch the documentary with your own eyes. And to go one step farther, respectfully, it's all in the Bible. Right. It's all in Revelations. It's right there in black print. Right. So all I'm saying is, but if you want to see some current, watch America Faces and Freedom. You'll get a wake-up call right there, and it shows you how and why this is happening, because this is all leading up to the one world government, the one world.
He got it to work in his left arm. What is the judgment when it goes in your left arm? No, there is no judgment for it.
You see that? I tell you, got some chippers in here. You chippers need to join on bum camps. Leave here.
There's no law. It says right on forehead. I have researched it. I've not found one chip that goes in the forehead.
In January, Elon Musk announced that for the first time, his company Neuralink implanted a brain chip in a human as part of a preliminary clinical trial. In January, Elon Musk announced that for the first time.
The serpent is more subtle than any of the beasts of the field. Okay, and again, we're showing you this camp, okay, mocked us. Okay, they said, well, it says right hand and forehead. Well, what if I put it in my left hand? What do you think this does in the psyche of the people following you? They're going to look for an excuse to take it.
His company Neuralink implanted a brain chip in a human as part of a preliminary clinical trial.
This is fascinating. Neuralink aims to help people living with debilitating conditions communicate and control external devices with their thoughts.
All right, so watch that video. All right, there's the elder. You watch the video. All right, and their web of lies is running out of steam. And see, they're having to talk about it more, all right, because people are asking them questions about it. It's becoming clear, all right, even when you look at this Trump, all right, takeover, which ultimately he's introducing you all to the technocracy we prophesied about. Okay, these were terms we told you to get familiar with, around 2019, 2020. Okay, and, ultimately the left hand under Biden stunk up the field. And now Trump came to save the day with the right hand. Okay, but if you noticed, he was surrounded by technocrats. Okay, and here, this video, all right, Omnivore Academia weighs in on digital attack on humanity. All right, for the first time in history, technocracy has been wrapped in a political ideology. So if you look at what happened under Trump with Elon, okay, and the rest of, those minions, technocracy became, all right, a talking point of the Republicans, along with AI and all of these various different things. Now, the Democrats were bringing it out as well. Okay, but it became, all right, AI and everything here in the States, all right, flourished under, Trump's recent, presidency up till now, where now they're saying we have to beat China. Now, when you look at what's going on in China, people are heavily surveilled. Okay, they're in the digital ID system already. So people thinking AI and surpassing China and AI represents, a better chat GPT. No, it represents a more stricter, okay, and surveilled system, all right, in which you have no rights and your social credit score will be tied to that. You keep hearing Trump talk about we gotta outdo China. We're behind. We gotta outdo China. They're talking about bringing that system of tyranny over here. But for the first time in history, technocracy has been wrapped in a political ideology and a religious system. Okay, this is their religion. This is their science is their religion. Okay, and what will you have to do to follow that religion? Well, in ancient times, you would bow to an image. You would bow to a physical carved out, by the artificer. He would carve out, a idol, whether it be of gold, of silver, of wood, and you would bow to it as a god. See, well, now the way you're gonna show, or you would get a brand. You would get a tattoo. Okay? When we go into Chai-Sai stigma, showing you that this is a religious system, Revelation 13 and 18, right? After it said, no, you got to get the mark to buy and sell. Okay, so it says, here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666, which 666 is embedded in this man's system. But when you go to this 666, Chai-Sai stigma, Chai, the first letters in Christ are anointed, Xi, all right, Xi, all right, it goes into quantum computing and different philosophies in the very system we see here. This is why Elon Musk and various of these companies use these three lines, okay, in their technological, all right, Neuralink, what's that, Tesla, you see they have those three lines, okay. Joe Biden's campaign had the three lines for the E. This company, Razor, and many others used this E. That is actually the Xi, okay, but it's an uppercase Xi. So Chai-Sai stigma is speaking, all right, like never before. We're seeing them X out the anointed, okay, X out the true anointed, and replace it and make themselves a savior via, their technology, okay? And then you have stigma, okay, which fully brings you in and makes you a traceable, trackable barcode in their system as they bring about this new digital Babel, all right, Tower of Babel, okay? The word stigma is a mark pricked or branded on the body to ancient Oriental usage. Slaves and soldiers bore the name or the stamp of their master or commander, branded or pricked, cut into their bodies to indicate what master or general they belong to. All right, and there were even some devotees who stamped themselves this way with the token of their gods. Okay, and when you go, all right, into the image of the beast speaking, how we are in the Western Roman Empire all over again. Okay, let's go to ChatGPT and just ask, did the Greeks and Romans use brands or tattoos to mark their subjects or military? Men. Okay. Yes, both the Greeks and Romans use brands and tattoos, stigma in the Greek or stigma in the Latin, to mark people, though in different contexts for different social groups. So slaves and criminals had particular tattoos. They would put it on their forehead, so if they, ran away, they would get caught. Soldiers, Greek soldiers did not generally receive tattoos, but they got brands. That's why, the Greek fraternity. But, you could look into the history. This system that John the Revelator is witnessing and wrote down the vision for us, it had to do with a system where people would have to brand their bodies as they did in ancient times to show what master they belong to. And as you can see here, a recognition of ownership. Okay? So we're witnessing an ancient system, all right, being upgraded to a digital mark, an ancient system of marking or branding via, just like your cows or cattle, they get, the tags on their ear. Well, we're witnessing that system being placed upon humans, but it's gradually being brought to you, all right, as the new way of salvation. Okay? So under this Trump regime, all right, for the first time in history, technocracy has been wrapped in a political ideology and a religious system, and now seeks to escape the boundaries of the United States. In other words, the new and expanded goal of technocracy is to build empire, all right, throughout the world using AI and cryptocurrency slash blockchain as weapons of mass subjugation. All right, so in this presentation, he's going into the first 9 months of President Trump's administration to show you how this very system of technocracy, okay, which basically your government and everything will be technocratic. Okay, science and technology will be the new governing matter. Okay, and each individual will have to subject itself to this new religion via a microchip.
Plan is being implemented and what to consider, going forward. Here you go. So, with a couple of new definitions about, what is technocracy in the first place? This is from the Technocrat magazine. That's the official publication of Technocracy, 1937. They said, technocracy is the science of social engineering, the scientific operation of the entire social mechanism to produce and distribute goods and services to the entire population. For the first time in human history, it'll be done as a scientific, technical, engineering problem. Period. End of subject. Furthermore, there will be no place for politics, politicians, finance, or financiers, rackets, or racketeers. Technocracy will distribute by means of certificate of distribution available to every citizen from birth to death. It's important to realize that technocracy wants to remove the political system altogether. They're doing a good job, basically, with the neutering of Congress, the neutering of the presidency. They're basically snatching power away from politicians. At some point, I think personally that the political class will be wiped out altogether. Not yet, but you can see the handwriting on the wall. So technocracy in the 1930s made 7 requirements. These are all seen in the Technocracy study course. You can go find that on the internet. It's been scanned and there's good copies. And 3 of those 7 requirements are as follows. Provide a continuous inventory of all production and consumption. Requirement number 4, provide a specific registration of the type, kind, etc. of all goods and services where produced and where used. Number 5, provide.
You can look up the fork, farm to fork. All right, where everything will be tracked, traced, rationed. All right, they will have the ability to limit how much of a product you can have or have access to based upon your social credit score. Okay, as the scriptures say, the heart is deep. Okay, these people are crazy. And they're destroying your lives and the economy on purpose, because this is the new system that's going to be put in place to save humanity. Again, they are setting themselves up as saviors via this device. The elites, that is, okay? Because even other Edomites are going to suffer from this system. It's going to be brutal. That's why they're trying to incite you people to react, all right, and to protest and fight them so that they can go ahead and continue with their plan. As you can see, they have not stopped. Every day is something. Psalm 64 and 5. Okay, and this used to be a secret council. The Illuminati, was all rooted in secrecy. All right, but now the cat's out of the bag, as in the latter days the Lord would allow the man of sin to be revealed and his plans. Psalm 64 and 2, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked and from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. And the word insurrection is centered around conspiracies. All right, ragash, scheming. Okay, insurrection. throng and company, and that's what the word conspiracy means: two or more plotting to do evil. And you go to the root word, boom, to conspire. So they've made you to look negatively at conspiracies, okay? But this is what they're doing is they're conspiring to do evil. Psalm 64:6, they search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them, and the heart is deep. But God shall shoot at them with an arrow, and suddenly shall they be wounded. So shall they make their own tongue to fall on themselves. All that see them shall flee away. So they're telling on one another. All of their plans are coming out. Okay? And let's listen to a little bit of this to show you that the technocracy is right in your face.
A specific registration of the consumption of each individual, plus a record and description of the individual. These requirements have never changed in almost 100 years. They could have been written today.
Yep. Registration of each individual. Okay, and they got you closer to that system via the Social Security Act, Social Security numbers, and so to speak. And that was brought about via a depression. Now they're bringing about another depression to upgrade you into a new system.
Just as easily as they were written in 1934 in the first place. So we have to figure out today.
And that was around the time of the Great Depression, 1934. Okay, so this was always the plan. This was always in the works, gradually bringing you into this, day. And why do you think Trump had this guy, all right, at the forefront of his presidency in the beginning, as they went and hijacked all of your data under the guise of Doge?
Who are these people who are executing this plan in America on behalf of technocracy? We need to name names, in my opinion, so that you can have an understanding who's pushing this, who's the architect behind it. Well, here's one: Elon Musk, arch technocrat for sure. He was in charge of Doge in the early days of the Trump administration, and he's been circling ever since. Now we have another pal of Elon Musk, Peter Thiel. He's been hiding in the shadows, but here's the founder of Palantir. His house philosopher is Curtis Yarvin.
These dudes just pop up out of nowhere. These are going to be the new leaders of your new world. Okay, doing the bidding of the elite. Okay, they're a part of that body,
And he was also the guy that mentored J.D. Vance to enter into politics in the first place. Now Vance appears to be Thiel's man on the inside of the political system, and probably the next president of the United States. Then you have David Sachs, arch technocrat, billionaire, one of the original members of the PayPal mafia, along with Thiel and Musk. He's Trump's AI and crypto czar. What does that mean? Well, this is an appointed position. He doesn't have a salary, apparently. I can't find any record of a salary, but as a special advisor to the president, he's just considered the AI and crypto czar. His tenure should have been 130 days. That's the rules associated with being a special advisor to the president. However, he's still there, issuing orders, strategies, etc. Wow. Here's another arch technocrat, Mark Andreessen, the kingmaker. I call him the kingmaker. He was at the table when Trump selected all these people in the first place in late 2024 to assume positions within the government based on their qualities of technocrats.
When you look up how the modern, the ancient Chaldeans got into power, it mimics how these technocrats themselves got, into power and pretty much bought out your presidency. And there's a particular race of people or, tribe of the biblical Edomites that always seem to be in the forefront of these plans. And it's the small hats. Okay? Amalek. Okay? They don't give a damn. Okay? And they've bought America out. All right? America was always a corporation. Okay? But it's over the years there's been certain moves made to take power away from the people, all right, and to give power into the hands, all right, of a small group of elites, all right, who want to rule everything, man. And then and by the end of it, you know, what was the American dream is turning into you will own nothing and be happy, and you will accept our solution to all of these issues. All right, and digital ID will be at the forefront of it because people are going to need money to live. All right, people are being drained of resources. People lack resources. People are losing jobs. Everything's high. All right, and right in your face. All right, they got all of this money for war. They got all this money for Israel. They got all this money for Ukraine. They got all this money to do this and do that. They're making moves that benefit, you know, foreign countries. But when it comes to the U.S. people, you can see things are being made bad because ultimately, all right, the freedoms of, you know, that are associated with America got to be done away with. Okay, which was the point of the Patriot Act and many other things that these devils have underhandedly done, all right, via what? Law, by mischief. Okay, these are some very devious devils. All right, Psalms 94. Okay. And 20, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law? Okay, so they're framing mischief by laws. And they're putting things in the news and manipulating the minds of the people to follow this left-right, you know, paradigm. But at the same time, okay, they're hijacking all of the land, the resources, and your life is getting worse. But these are the people that Trump surrounded himself with, because these are the people, all right, who want that micro C-hip in everybody. Okay? Don't let these charlatans fool you. The mark of the beast is the microchip. Okay?
Mark Andreessen has chosen to be not visible, but nevertheless, I'm making him visible. Then you have arch technocrat Michael Kratsius, director of the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. Kratsius was formerly the managing director of a company known as Scale AI. Scale is the largest, and I mean by far the largest dominant training facility for AI in the world. He has a company that employs some 220,000 members of people around the world to train AI to do its magic. So he's now on the inside as well. This is an appointed position, and I do not believe that he had to stand before the Senate to be confirmed. I could be wrong on that. Now we have arch technocrat Howard Lutnick. He will play in our discussion going forward. But Lutnick is a great friend of Elon Musk, and he and Musk kind of architected the Doge facility that we saw in the first months of the Trump administration. Now he's the Secretary of Commerce. Oh boy. Lastly, we have arch technocrat Larry Ellison. Some of you have seen him on national TV. He's not. He doesn't like the limelight for sure, but every once in a while he gives interviews, and some people, but behind the scenes, consider Larry Ellison as the shadow president.
Absolutely, and he's a transhumanist. Okay, and he wants a stricter digital ID. All right, that will make citizens comply. Okay, because they don't want anyone with power to speak against their plan.
I can't vouch for that because I'm not on the inside, but I'm just saying some people in the tech world consider Larry Ellison to be the big cheese calling all the shots.
All right, this is why your president had him. Okay, I mean, we always show it. Your president had him with him, all right, pretty much on the first or second day of his presidency, telling you the plans that they have for your life and how they're going to save everything through technology and science and, you know, these new vaxes, which, you know, will be a one and done that will pretty much, you know, be able to, you know, track you and, you know, before you get sick, heal you, you know, just regular everyday Edomite stuff, right?
So the kingmakers of the Trump administration have a combined net worth of over $1.2 trillion. That's a lot of money. It probably is higher now than that because stocks have been going up recently, and their investments have been going up as well. So probably it's higher than this, but this is what I can get at least by the end of 2024. These are the people that are driving the digital state. No question about it. They're betraying the MAGA movement and the populist movement in America. They're guided by this philosophy called the Dark Enlightenment, which we're not going to...
See, they're betraying MAGA. So the left-right paradigm is pretty much up. And the technocracy with brute force is being brought to you, all right, right before your very eyes. MAGA is law. MAGA, y'all are not winning. See, they put a camera in front of a illegal immigrant or a nigger, and the MAGAs are, that keeps them pacified. All right, but now a lot of them are coming to the conclusion that they're being betrayed. Okay, by Trump. All right, and a lot of them are even tapping into the mark of the beast. A lot of them are saying, "Wait a minute, this system that." These people who bought out the presidency are bringing about, it's against the people. Now they're calling for more of a democracy where people can have freedoms. Okay? It said, guided by the dark enlightenment to destroy America. Because what was America rooted in? Freedom of speech, freedoms to, particular citizens, right?
To talk about today. I won't in any case, but...
And through those freedoms, the Lord has allowed the word, okay, to flourish. So now they're at a point where they have to do something about it. Okay, and here we are. Okay, these are the Chaldeans. Okay, that's why the book of, when you read the scriptures, Isaiah 47 talks about, all right, Isaiah 47:1, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Okay, and a daughter brings back, all right, the ways of ancient kingdoms. Okay, and this is what we're witnessing. Okay, this is the daughter of Babylon. You just like you clinging on to your daddy, so to speak. Okay. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. Okay? And when you look up this term Chaldeans, okay, these were the wise men and witches and warlocks of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Okay, it says clod breakers. Okay. Kashada Yama. Right? And those considered to be the wisest in the land. Okay. And the scriptures told you that the wise men of Esau would be, foolish in the latter days. They would be exposed to be fools. Okay. Isaiah 19:12. Where are they? Where are thy wise men? Let them tell thee now, and let them know what the Lord of hosts has proposed upon Egypt. Okay. Because they're trying to use America to be at the forefront of this AI, technological, advancement in the earth. Okay, but it ain't gonna work. Okay, they think they're gonna just destroy everything, and have a war, and then they'll be the phoenix that rise out of the ashes. Isaiah 44:25, that frustrated the token of liars, that make it diviners mad, that turn it wise men backwards and making their knowledge foolish. Okay? So they're going to lose. Okay? The modern day Chaldeans are in effect. And what I did was I typed in here real quick. All right. How did the Chaldeans scheme their ways into power? Okay, the Chaldeans, okay, which again, you have three Babylons in the scriptures. You have Babel at the time of Nimrod, that was Cushites. That's where the beginning of the New World Order and everything started. All of the gods and goddesses that are worshipped in today's world, it all goes back there. Babel, which means confusion. Then you have the Neo-Babylonian Empire, which was really the Neo-Assyrian Babylonian Empire, ran by Assyrians, which are a Shemitic tribe of people. Okay, and they were locked into the magic and wicked ways of ancient Babel, but they had their own, kick to it as well. And the Chaldeans were originally a tribal group from southern Mesopotamia near the marshland, yada, yada. They weren't the original rulers of Babylon, right? Because originally you had your founding fathers, but there were moves made eventually where the bankers out of London, all right, pretty much, you know, put a thorn in the plan, so to speak, to let you know, like, we really still run your ass. But over time, they rose through cunning political maneuvering, all right, which you see happening today. Now, all of a sudden, you look up and Elon Musk, Larry Ellison, and different technocrats and transhumanists and people who are into digital ID and microchipping people are now in your political movements, alliances. They've bought out your presidents. They've bought out your governors. And some of them ain't going to agree, so it's going to be a divide. All right, but these people have so much power and the ability to destroy people that they're brutally getting, you know, forcing themselves into power. All right, and exploitation of Babylon's instability. So as Babylon was unstable, the Chaldeans maneuvered themselves into power and gave all of the solutions using their witch and warlock, you know, enchantments. So they exploited Babylon's instability and they wiggled themselves into power. Okay, and you can go into the history, but they exploited the collapse of Assyria. The Assyria Empire finally crumbled under the internal strife of foreign attacks. Same thing you got going on here, you know, Medes, Scythians, and Babylonians. All right, a Chaldean noble took advantage of the chaos. He declared himself king of Babylon. He allied with the Medes, which were a Japhetic people, against the Assyrians. They together destroyed Nineveh, yada, yada, yada. But he used alliances, timing, and diplomacy rather than brute force. So they wiggled themselves in there. Okay? He promised the Medes share spoils, secures Babylon's loyalty through religion, and then took the throne as if he's restoring Babylon's ancient glory. And this is what these devils are doing now. They're telling you they're going to restore America to glory. They're using, you know, their Christian nationalism talking points to, you know, play with you people's minds. But at the same time, the people who are, you know, being set in positions of power, they don't want nothing to do with the Lord. Okay, they're complete Satanists. All right. And they're guided by the dark enlightenment to destroy America in a sense of civil liberties, rights, and things that have been always associated with America.
Their intent is to destroy America, but good. So we're just going to look now at this video of Larry Ellison telling you what he thinks should be happening in America and around the world. Let's take a listen to this.
When you come to government and what government's doing, there are artificial intelligence tools, and some of them I know that Oracle have developed around financial management for government. But also, tell us a bit about because you're right at the forefront of this revolution, what it means for what government should do in terms of its digital infrastructure, you know, digital ID, data centers, and so on.
How do you take advantage of these incredible AI models? And the first thing a country needs to do is to unify all of their data so it can be consumed and used by the AI model. You have to take all of your healthcare data, your diagnostic data, your electronic health records, your genomic data. And you know, in the Middle East, in the UAE, for example, they're incredibly rich in data. They have a lot of population data. The NHS in the UK has an incredible amount of population data, but it's fragmented. It's not easily accessible by these AI models. We have to take all of this data we have in our country and move it into a single, if you will, unified data platform. So we provide context. When we want to ask a question, we've provided that AI model with all the data they need.
This is why they're buying up all of these lands, and they're building all of these data centers. They're waging war on certain, you know, neighborhoods, because there's data centers and different, you know, technology spaces they need to set up their NWO. Which I'll do another lesson. I was going to go into a few other videos, but this one's kind of already gone over, so I'll do another one. But as you can see, technocrats come for food to destroy farms and ranches because they know the way all right, to get people to comply, all right, is to get control of the money and the food. See that? So basically, when it's all said and done, you're going to be looking to these people for the solution. There ain't going to be no other solution. There ain't going to be no middleman. Okay? AI will be policing every goddamn thing. Okay? And they'll set up a no way out scenario in order to basically bow to their image and take their mark. Okay? This is what's being set up on the planet Earth, man. Don't be, all right, fooled. All right? Remember, Satan is able to set himself up as an angel of light and to actually make you to believe that he has the answer, all right, for safety. Again, they're setting themselves up to be in a position of saviors. Okay? They're bringing about trouble, instability, volatility in the economy and the job market, everything. Okay, so that ultimately the subject, all right, can be forced into a position to administer, to take what they got.
We need to understand our country. So that's the big step. That's kind of the missing link. We need to unify all of the national data, put it into a database where it's easily consumable by the AI model, and then ask whatever question you like.
So you're really, through the use of this, you're revolutionizing the way government works.
Because that's going to be the new government. Technocracy will be your new government.
That's the idea. Move all data into a unified platform. What data? Well, for one, all healthcare data, all diagnostic data. That would include health data as well as societal information, all health records, all financial records data, all population data. There's a lot of data, for instance, in the annals of Washington, D.C., about Medicare, about tax records, etc. All genomic data. That speaks of DNA, by the way. That's right.
Yeah, they want all of that. Habakkuk 2, they want your DNA, they want all of that on this digital ID system. Okay? So this is, Habakkuk 2 and 5. Yea, also because he transgressed, as a matter of fact, let's go to 4. Because at the end it will speak. Habakkuk 2 and 3, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Okay? And we're going to have to live by faith. Yea, also because he transgresses by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto himself all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb? So people are calling this out. Okay? But he wants to gather unto himself all nations and people, which mimics, okay, Genesis, the 11th chapter, all right, with the Tower of Babel. Okay? Let's see here. Genesis 11. And 4. And they said, go, let us build a city and tower whose top may reach into the heaven. And we showed you Jeff Bezos talking about data centers out of space. Let's see if I can find that. Let me see if I can find, because it was on Instagram. Let's see, Jeff Bezos, data centers out of space. Yeah, there we go. That's a good one.
Welcome to the WeOn podcast, where we explore fascinating stories and ideas from various fields. In this episode, we dive into Jeff Bezos's bold vision of building massive AI data centers in Earth's orbit within the next decade, promising limitless solar power sustainable computing and a revolutionary shift in global digital infrastructure. Global adoption of artificial intelligence and cloud computing has triggered exponential growth in data center infrastructure, pushing energy consumption to historic highs and straining terrestrial resources. Traditional ground-based data centers.
So the Earth is being destroyed. All right, but there's an actual video of him saying it. I don't know if they put it here. So we don't, we don't want to be pushing propaganda like you all say.
Let's start with a big idea from a big name. Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon and Blue Origin, recently made a prediction that within the next 10 to 20 years, we could see extremely large-scale data centers being built in Earth's orbit.
Yeah, I mean, I believe this is the interview.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another video. So you may have noticed that I have not made a video in about 3 weeks now. All right, let's now move on to the next topic of this video.
Many times since then, I don't know, 20 for 1 or maybe.
It was in this interview, so you look it up, find it. Again, we can't spoon feed you everything, but you look it up, and this is what he's on. Okay? It's in that interview. I don't know if this video is talking about it, but it's in that interview. Yeah, so this is definitely the Tower of Babel all over again. And remember, in prophecy, America is known, okay, as, all right, the city of Nimrod. And this is what they did. They said in verse 4, "Go, let us build a city and a tower whose top may reach into heaven, and let us make a name," all right, ourselves a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the earth. Okay, and this is that tower whose top may reach into heaven, all right, to pretty much have dominion and be God, okay, in the midst of the people, all right. This is the book of Revelation 17. Okay. And there came one of the 7 angels, which had 7 veils, and talked with me, saying unto me, "Come hither, and I will show thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters." The waters, as we go into this breakdown, represents the people. All right, verse Revelation 17 and 15. "And he said unto me, The waters which thou sawest where the great whore sitteth are peoples, multitude, and nations and tongues, gathering everybody, all right, into this digital ID. I mean, this digital system, this new modern day Tower of Babel. All right, well, all of your data and who you are, everything will be linked. Okay, and there's a lot of people they want to do away with, all right, before they get to that point, which is why you're seeing, mass death and everything else. This is a lot of information in this video, so I'm only going to play a little bit more and then I'll stop it. But Ezekiel 28 and 2, all right, that which is then is now. "Son of man, say to the prince of Tyrus, which today," all right, that, that Canaanite, Phoenician Canaanite religion, which goes back to the ancient Babel, is now being ran and restored through, all right, Babylon the Great. Okay, magic money, the ancient left-hand priesthood that do all of their demonic practices and sacrifices is all back. That's what these people do. Okay? See, your governments and presidents, they do it on a smaller level, but the people, the modern day Chaldeans, they do it on a even, which the president, he's a part of that whole group, right? But there's levels to this, okay? "Thus said the Lord God to the prince of Tyrus, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God. I sit in the seat of God in the midst of the seas," and the seas represents the people. "Yet thou art a man and not God, though thou set thine heart as the heart of God. Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret they can hide from thee." And via AI and technology, all right, he's trying to foretell the future. Okay, he Daniel was, very good with interpreting dreams and knowing how to figure out the future. Well, now Esau is tapping into that technology via everything we see. And these are the people who are at the forefront of it. "There is no secret they can hide from thee. With thy wisdom and thine understanding thou hast gotten thee riches, and hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. By thy great wisdom and by thy traffic thou hast increased thy riches, and thine heart is lifted up. So, you know, with the ability to have resources and, you know, control trade and traffic people, silence people, you know, traffic resources, you know, buy up, you know, steal land through theft and bullying tactics, and, you know, draining, you know, farmers from, you know, being able to farm and taking over the land. You know, now they have control over everything. And you best believe Doge, when Musk was in there, they were gathering all of your information. Okay? They were gathering more information. Okay? And data, because data is the new gold. But they want everything, even your genomic data. Okay? What is genomic data? Okay? Yeah, Bezos, just data centers in space. This is the modern day Tower of Babel. Okay? What is genomic data? Information about an organism's complete set of genetic material, including DNA sequence, gene functions, and regulatory elements. And this is not medical information, man. So this data is used in fields for medicine, research to understand health and disease by decoding information, yada, yada, yada. So they want all of this and more.
Collection of DNA. And then also geospatial data. He didn't talk about that, but this is clearly in writings that he's expressed along the way. So this is basically all of the data in the world that's important at this point. Where you go, where you move, who you're associated with, and then all your personal information as well. So in the first 9 months of the Trump administration, we saw first the sidelighting of the Federal Reserve on CDs, BCs, and that first executive order basically flat out told the Federal Reserve, you're off the case of creating central bank digital currencies. I'll explain why in just a minute. It created then a privatized system based on crypto and tokenization, a privatized separate system, financial system, not the Federal Reserve in charge. It created a new regulatory framework to support this new invention, if you will. It passed the Genius Act that was signed, the Enable Act that was signed. Several executive orders were signed to support the whole thing. Then all of the government data that was freed by Doge has been put into the AI cloud. And lastly, this is really important too, Palantir got into the saddle now with a $10 billion contract, mostly with the military, but also with the administration, to take all this data and roll it up, just like Ellison explained in the video.
All right, and you asked, what is the importance of data to a tyrant who wants to microchip people? Why do they need your data? You know, that's a sharp and important question. It goes straight to the heart of power, technology, and control. Why data matters to a tyrant. Data is the lifeblood of control. To a tyrant, data equals knowledge, and knowledge equals power over people's thoughts, movements, and decisions. And it's getting so scary. You could be thinking something and it pops up on the screen. You could be thinking about someone who you haven't seen, and if you're on a social media platform, they'll pop up. I'm talking about thinking. It used to be you speak it in there, you know, okay, damn, I need a new watch. You say it, and then, but now you're starting to see that this shit is coming up. You know, it's scary. We got to get out of here, man. If a ruler wanted to microchip or digitally tag citizens, data would be a true weapon, not just the chip itself. Identification and surveillance. Data lets a regime know who everyone is, where they are, and what they're doing. A microchip could act like a live ID, constantly transmitting information The more detailed data, biometric, medical, financial, movement, and communication, the easier it becomes to monitor and predict people's behavior. Okay? And this is what we're seeing. Ancient empires like Rome used census, tax registries to control populations. Today, that same concept is magnified digitally. Behavioral control, right? Without enough data, a tyrant can predict and shape. With enough data, a tyrant can shape and predict and shape behavior. Okay, algorithms could detect dissent, control, and this is what Palantir is doing, the Gideon technology and everything like that. All right, algorithms could detect dissent, control access to food, healthcare, or travel, rewarding obedience and punishing defiance. This would make rebellion or even independent thought nearly impossible without detection. Okay, and guys like Ellison. Okay, let's just look up some articles on him on his website. We'll get out of here in a minute. Yeah, new CBS owner. Is it Larry Ellison? It's David Ellison. I'm sorry, I'm saying Larry Ellison. That's another guy. David Ellison. Hey, let's see. Let me make sure I'm okay. David Ellison is someone else, but I believe. Okay, yeah, his name is Larry Ellison. Look at this nigga. Look at him. Nigga, 81. And you know what he's drinking. Okay. So, one of the first things you see, which they, a lot of these small hats are Jews by blood, the mother, but it's that one common denominator in all of this is this term here. But maybe we just bugging out. But I don't know what I was looking up. Oh, yeah. Larry, let me just type in Larry Ellison. Larry. Because there was another one where he was dealing with, people complying. Bill Gates unveils global digital ID, which will erase non-compliant humans. And Larry Ellison's a part of that. Okay? And they're slowly but surely gaining control of data, everything. Algorithm platforms, everything, food. And we'll go into another lesson, but let me just play this part real quick and then we'll end it off. Salakia.
So now we can talk about the hijacking of national data. Well, Doge was never about saving money or increasing efficiency in the government. Never. Doge was planned by Musk, Lutnick, and Trump in specific in 2024.
And it started with Obama under a different name, but it came to fruition, under Trump.
At least probably by June, July, they had it all figured out. And Musk was there all the way. Musk was on the outside of Doge. This is important as well. He never officially held a title other than special advisor to the president. And he left after 130 days, by the way, to the day, because that was as the regulations required him to exit the government after 130 days. But Musk was kind of the snake in the woodpile. He was obviously instrumental on having his people placed in positions of power within the government, technocrats all. But he himself, he was basically a fraud. He didn't have any authority whatsoever as the special advisor to the president. Trump could do something perhaps because he's the chief in charge. But Elon Musk, no. Everything he did was theater. But nevertheless, we'll see he and Thiel were paired up to put the people in there in the first place. And they fed them into the machine, if you will. Then they were spread to the whole system. So the data assault itself was orchestrated by Musk and Thiel. And they used shock and awe to spring the data immediately. You might remember all of the fights that took place when the Doge teams would show up into an agency and demand that they turn over all the keys to the data, the passwords, and everything else. And there was squawking going on. There was cries of agony going on in these agencies, especially the IRS, especially the Medicare health organization. They said, this is basically, you're stealing our data from us. Then, magically, government workers started to get sacked, seemingly indiscriminately. But this is according to this doctrine called RAGE, replace all government employees. That was part of the philosophy, by the way, that went along with Peter Thiel and his house philosopher, Curtis Yarvin. And then, through September, I counted 109 Doge teams that have been established in the government. Each team, by the way, has a minimum of 4 members. It can have more, but you have a tech member that leads the team. You have an HR person, an attorney, etc. You get the idea. So
they're taking over, and we'll finish this up in another lesson because there was other videos I wanted to go into. Electronic pass system limits students to track their bathroom breaks. But we'll be back. As this, there's a lot of information. May the Lord bless the elect. But yeah, these guys ain't got it, man. Hopefully y'all edified. On to the next. Shalom.